In January 2025, my friend Thomas accompanied me on a month-long trip to Thailand. He came there with me once before in 2022. I'm retired and I come to Thailand each year, usually in January. This January was my 10th trip there. When travelling with Thomas, it is always an adventure. Interesting things seem to happen to him. Some are his fault, as he is somewhat of a newbie to Thailand, and some happen even when he is doing things properly. Prior to and during our trip in 2022, I was advising him about things to be careful of. One thing I emphasised was to never agree to the purchase of goods or services unless he completely understood what he was paying for and what the price was. I specifically told him not to nod and smile when he did not understand. One evening in Chiang Mai, we met at a restaurant in the northeast quadrant of the old city. Thomas did not want to eat as he had eaten earlier, but I had not. I ordered a mild curry and a beer. The waiter said something to Thomas in Thai which neither of us understood. Thomas grinned at the waiter and slightly nodded his head politely. When my curry came, there were 2 bowls, mine and one for Thomas. Thomas told the waiter he did not order any food. The waiter insisted that he take the curry and the manager came and also insisted. Thomas was not happy but did not make a scene. In most Thai restaurants, if there is a mistake on an order, the waiter staff has the cost deducted from their salary. These poor folk work so hard for little pay, so it is devastating to them when there is a deduction from their salary. I explained again to Thomas that his smile and his nod of his head when he did not understand is what caused the situation. On the recent trip in January, another interesting situation happened. This one had a lot more positive ending, even though it started out badly. We arrived at Suvarnabhumi Airport from Texas a little before midnight on the 8th of January. By the time we cleared immigration, collected our luggage and walked through customs, it was about 1 a.m. in the morning of the 9th of January. As the rail link train stops at midnight, a taxi was our best choice to go to our hotel just off of Sukhumvit, Soi 15. We got a taxi ticket and went to the stall number 30 and our driver loaded our suitcase into the taxi. Although the drivers from the airport have gotten much better over the years at using the meter, I guess he took me for a newbie. He said the fare to our hotel would be 1,300 baht. 700 baht for the ride, plus 200 baht for the airport fee, plus 200 baht for tolls, plus 100 baht for each large suitcase, for a total of 1,300 baht, approximately $40. I told him, no, use the meter. He said the meter was broken and the fare was 1,300 baht. I told him to let us out and open my door to get out. He then said, okay, meter. I told him the airport charge was 50 baht, not 200, and that there was no charge for the luggage and that I would pay the tolls and for him not to add them to our bill when we arrived. He reluctantly agreed. The meter showed 350 baht when we arrived, to which he added the 50 baht airport fee for a total of 400 baht. I did add a small tip, but it was less than I would have given if he had been honest from the start. That was only the beginning of our early morning adventure. We walked to the desk at the hotel and I handed my passport and printout of my Agoda booking, and in less than 3 minutes I was given back my passport and my key to the room. Thomas then handed the clerk his passport and Agoda printout. Just in case you wonder what Agoda is, guys, if you haven't used it, it's an online booking site that's very popular here in Thailand. The clerk shuffled through some papers, looking puzzled. He said, "We don't have your reservation." Thomas reminded him that he had the Agoda confirmation. The clerk went to the back office and in a few minutes came out with a paper showing that the reservation had been cancelled about 7 p.m. Now it was close to 2 a.m. Thomas explained that we were on a plane at 7 p.m. and that he did not cancel the reservation. The clerk said he was sorry, but they were fully booked and there was no other rooms to give him. I suspect that because the hotel was fully booked, someone walked in, needed a room at 7, and the hotel could charge him more than what Thomas was paying, so the hotel cancelled his reservation. I said that since it was so late, we could check in with nearby hotels for a room, as there were at least 4 hotels in the same block. We put my luggage in my room and started down the street. At the first hotel, they said they were full. At the second hotel, they were also full. At the third hotel, they had a room normally about 1200 baht, but they wanted 5000 baht for one night. At the fourth hotel, they also wanted an outrageous price because they could see his options were limited. I told Thomas, look, for one night, you can stay in my room with me and we will sort this out tomorrow morning. When we got back to my hotel, there had been a shift change and now a girl was working the front desk. Thomas said he was going to check with her. He explained the situation and hoped she could help him. She too said they were fully booked, but that she had a friend that worked at a hotel about 2 blocks away. She gave her friend a call and they talked for about 5 minutes. She told Thomas that the security guard was going to walk him to the friend's hotel. I told him that if things did not work out, come back to my room for the night. It was now about 3 a.m. and I went to my room, unpacked, showered and crawled into bed exhausted. I did not hear from Thomas that night. About 10 a.m. Thomas messaged me to meet him at a local coffee stall on the corner of Sukhumvit Soi 21. We got coffee and there and Thomas told me what transpired after we parted at 3 a.m. When Thomas arrived at the little hotel, the girl who was the friend of the girl at my hotel told him that the only room they had left was the most expensive room in the hotel, but at 11 a.m. there would be an inexpensive room that could be available for 4 days that he could have. She said that if he would not mess up the expensive room, he could go there and shower if he used only one towel and could sleep on the top of the bedspread so they would not have to change the bed linens. She said that if he would do this and not mess the room up, he could stay there until 11 for no charge. Really a pretty good deal given the circumstances, but it gets better. Thomas accepted her offer and told the girl that she should accompany him to the room to be sure he didn't mess it up. She did. They showered together and messed up the bed together, but there was still no charge. She contacted the maid service to clean the room at 10:30. When he finished our coffee, Thomas went back to the hotel to move to his new room. Although I never seem to have such luck, often if you just go with the flow, a bad situation can turn into a good one. So sometimes people write to me and say, do you believe all these stories that are sent to you? And I give a standard answer. I always say, look, I don't judge or condemn. I just read them out. Unless they're really silly, like the guy who said he was sitting in Asok and he spotted a UFO, something ridiculous like that, or he was chased halfway down Sukhumvit by half a dozen ladyboys. The really silly ones, I just don't read out. Okay, into story number 4. Hi again, Peter. I think this is my 5th or 6th story for you. I was in Phuket 2 years ago with a business friend. It was only a 4-night trip arranged for us. I was trying to make a good impression, so I was keeping my nighttime activities to myself. We were dining in nice places and not really getting involved with the girls or visiting the bars. We were staying at a famous brand hotel that everyone knows. Anyway, through a dating app, I had arranged for a ladyboy to visit me late at night. My friend and I had actually had a great night out and had bonded better than ever. He was staying about 6 doors away from me, so I didn't think it would be a big deal to have a late night visitor. That is what I thought. The ladyboy in question arrived late. I was almost asleep after drinking a few bottles of wine and some whiskey with my colleague when she arrived. I was groggy and sleepy. We did the business and I was rather infatuated with her, so I flippantly said, come back anytime you want. She left and that was that. The next night was our final night out before we returned home the next day. It was a good night and we had visited many bars enjoying the scene. We were much more relaxed now, with each other I mean. We both said good night and went to bed. However, around 4 a.m, there was a knock on my door. I sat up and stared at the door, unsure of who it was. Another knock, then the sound of the ladyboy from the previous night. She was saying, I come back, I come back. I froze because I did not want her to come in at all. In fact, I wanted her to leave. The opposite happened. She started banging on the door like a maniac and screaming for me to let her in. Then she began throwing herself against the door, shouting, swearing words louder and louder. I was frozen to the bed, not sure what to do. I quietly called the operator on the phone and whispered that there was someone trying to get into my room by mistake and that I did not want to confront them. After one final charge at my door and a scream, it suddenly went quiet. I will never know if my colleague knew what had happened because neither of us mentioned it, but he was close enough to hear and see, as were many other people.